What is good with the people? I am Damo, the political plug. This is the Chop Up. It's been a minute. I'm pretty sure y'all missed us. We missed y'all. Chop Nation, we in here to tell you what is good with you.
Hey, it's a beautiful, what is this, a Wednesday. Feeling
Yeah.
good about being with the fam. Feeling good
Yeah.
about being with you specifically. I'm looking for my laptop charger because I don't want this thing to down us. But more importantly, I'm just happy to be back with the nation, man. I really hope that y'all go ahead and say what's up. Act like y'all been here before. If you haven't, go ahead and say what's up. Announce yourself. Let us know where you from. Tyler already knows the drill. Is already saying what's good. It's cool. I'm chilling.
Yo, yeah, so we might as well get right into the conversation because, like, I don't know, for y'all that's familiar with me, I don't like to brag, especially when I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like to spend too much time
Don't let
talking
him
about
out
the
of you.
things that that I've gotten correct.
Don't let
Because
him out of
I did get the election wrong, right? I definitely thought Kamala Harris was gonna pull it out. Got that
you.
all the way wrong, but it was something that I got right in
What
the
you get
way
right?
I characterized the election and what I thought was a problem, and that is the emboldening, the empowering of white nationalists, white supremacist organizations, ideologies to feel more comfortable, to be out, to be loud, you know what I'm saying, and to show themselves. You feel me? For a long time, we was under the impression that we was coming up to a time in America where that old school racism, like that attachment to Nazism, like the praise for Hitler, like that type of shit, was really getting to a point where we thought where it was just being shunned. Like
Mm-hmm.
no longer did people feel did people feel comfortable holding on to the there we go. No longer did people feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like people didn't even feel comfortable being Trump supporters. Just keeping it a stack. They didn't feel comfortable being Trump supporters. They didn't feel comfortable attaching themselves to their racism. A lot of people played fake woke. A lot of people pretended to be against racism. You know what I mean? When at the end of the day, they just didn't want to get canceled, right?
Right.
But with the re-election of Donald Trump, even more so than the election of Donald Trump, which historically led to the second highest peak in hate crimes in the history of America, second only to post 9/11 hate crimes on the Muslim
Ooh,
community. Yeah, right.
that takes me back
We're
to a very specific place. Also, shout out to Vayasa in the chat, but like that was a lot of a very aggressive, very outward. When I think of like Charlottesville and the tiki torches and this, that, and the other, that pales in comparison to 9/11. So to know that we are in a uniquely rich extremist era is like compared to that is like it
right.
speaks volumes to me.
It speaks volumes. Now, during the Trump presidency, after the Trump presidency, y'all can go back to a lot of old chop up content where we talked about things like the Trump effect, which it showed that in areas where Donald Trump had campaign rallies, there was a 200% increase in hate crimes. There
Mm-hmm.
was the ADL report that we did a show about that specifically said that in the year 2023, that every ideological hate crime was committed by a far right supremacist, far right extremist.
Mm-hmm.
80% of those far right extremists were considered white supremacists, right? So we've went also the fact that the FBI years ago came out and said that the greatest threat to domestic security is white nationalism. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's been all of this evidence to point to this rise in white supremacist ideology becoming more visible, right? Becoming more active, and
Becoming
even
more
after
mainstream. It's really actually
more
very.
mainstream, yeah,
I mean, because let's not forget the platforming of it on podcasts. You know what I'm saying, and the influences of those voices on how people think and the decisions that they make. Like with the wildfire of that particular medium of connecting with people, a lot more signal boosting, a lot more people get connected, and I feel like those mediums allow for people to kind of speak with their views, if you will, or speak with their comments. And they get to hide behind anonymous screens and to hide behind, user 97653760, and they get that space, right? Like those echo chambers are important to acknowledge or
right,
whatever, because I think we definitely saw an uptick of that, right? Everything from the grievances with the way that COVID happened, which everybody has some, but there were some unique people, you know what I'm saying, who made sure they found spaces and places to really start to galvanize some movement behind that. But like, yeah, I don't think it can be overstated the power that these other, venues of discussion and discourse have had to like really shape some shit.
Now, this is a report that came out right after the election. That talked about how a lot of this white supremacist rhetoric, a lot of extremist protests or demonstrations are starting to take place. Let me just pull up this article so we can take a look at it real quick. White supremacist incidents. White supremacist incidents on a rise across the United States. Flash demonstrations intended to spread fear and anxiety are happening almost weekly. Now, this was leading up to election. This is the day after the election. But getting to the information, flash displays of hate and white power are happening more frequently in the United States, a trend that experts say is a reaction to changing demographics, political turmoil, and social catalysts. More than 750 such incidents have taken place since 2020, according to the Anti-Defamation League, more than half of them occurring in the last 18 months. So as we got closer to the election, white supremacists felt more comfortable just coming out and being like, yes, I'm a Nazi, yes, I support Trump, and I don't see anything wrong with that. As it goes on here to say, almost every week, small white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups have been descending on downtowns, gathering in public parks, or rallying on the grounds of state houses and courthouses across the country. It's just that common, says Oren Siegel, vice president of Center on Extremism. Flash demonstrations, whether they are 6 people or 12 or 40, are designed to create fear and anxiety in a community, and they happen almost every single week. In 2023, for the second consecutive year, the center recorded a new high in white supremacist propaganda incidents, which include distribution of racist, anti-Semitic, and anti-LGBTQ flyers, banners, graffitis, and posters, with a total of 7,567 cases. All right, so for the people that's been keeping track of this type of stuff and keeping track of people who move like this, they said in 2023 it was the second straight year of a record number of these incidents, and we can only imagine what the 2024 numbers are, given the relationship that these people have with somebody like Donald Trump and Donald Trump being put back in the office. All right. Yeah. Now, again, what we have to recognize is that these people are violent. Whiteness has always been stupid violent. Even if we look towards certain incidents like the Tops grocery store incident, or we look at the Dylan Roof incident, all of those young men were right-wing extremists. Okay? They weren't religious extremists. They weren't, you feel me, no other type of extreme about nothing else. They were right-wing extremists. Right, not lone wolves, because they were radicalized on the internet. They were radicalized by the rhetoric of people like Donald Trump. Now, with that understanding, recognizing that these people, the propensity of violence that these people have, recognizing their willingness for violence and the levels of violence that they go about, my question to Toya, my question to the chat is, why don't people take the rise of white supremacy serious at all?
Shout out to J Universe in the chat. Definitely shout out to Black Love, or wait, Pure Black.
Pure Black,
I believe it is. I'm gonna make sure, because I think we spoke over each other. But why don't people take white extremism serious? I feel like it's twofold, right? We remember the words of George Yancey, "Look a white," right, which kind of exposed the ways that, it becomes a little bit more insidious. It becomes cloaked in other things. It comes shrouded in other things. It's able to be explained away. And so I think a whole lot of reasons why, extremism isn't being pegged down to a thing is because it's being associated with, political organizing. It's being associated with PACs. It's being associated with, parental concern over educational content. It's being packaged as, an ethical orientation toward the medical and healthcare industries, right? Like all of these different things, like it's able to be contorted into. And so, it's kind of hard to peg down, because these organizations and these groups can just say, no, it's not really that, it's this. Prime example are organizations like the Heritage Foundation, right? Like that are able to cloak a lot of what they talk about and how they articulate what they're saying and doing in this mainstream language that makes them seem so benign and so harmless. The second is just there's no appetite for it. right? Like because it's a theory, and I think because white supremacy has the kind of buzzwordy stigma to it, right? It's not really taken serious. Hear me when I say this, is like an objective theory, right?
Yeah,
Like just a theory that explains something. It's understood as this mystification of reality, this opportunity to create a grievance. Like this just the way that it sits on the palate of even people who can make a decision. They're like, ooh, you start, to talk about white supremacy and white
yeah,
extremism. Like, oh, I don't know. Like maybe it's an issue of racism or prejudice. But when we start to classify and contextualize and group and organize individuals in particular ways, I
yeah,
think it makes the white people who make decisions want to de-intensify the severity of it, want to explain it in simpler or better or more comfortable terms, which means we don't encounter it and take it serious as a threat to the overall dream, ambition, objective, and goal of this country and what it's supposed to be created around. So I think it's just a whole bunch of chumps, it's a bunch of hoes that just when it comes to calling it what it is, they get real, weak in the knees. It rings a particular bell for them that then
yeah.
it disincentivizes them to do real shit about it and treat it like a real problem.
This is where, so like a few places where I feel like you identified my biggest issue with just niggas. I mean, people in general, but mostly niggas. It's like this idea that we can even assume that white supremacy and white privilege are theories.
Yeah.
These things ain't theories. Like that. This is why I say Donald Trump was the greatest proof of white privilege in the United States. You telling me
Mm-hmm.
that this man got convicted of felonies, not one or two, 30 something of them. This man can come out and flat out say that, hey, the president, I should be able to shoot somebody as a president, be able to shoot my political enemies, and as long as it's taking place under my purview of what I'm doing as president, I should be immune. Like I should be able to hold on to classified documents. I shouldn't have to. I should be able to call lieutenant governors or secretaries of state and ask them to find votes for me. I should be able to do all this shit. I should be able to inspire a insurrection on the like literally on our government's capital and still be president.
Yeah.
There's nobody else other than no other group in this country gets that type of privilege. No other group in that country has the capacity to be able to dominate like how power flows than white men specifically. So like I mean, and listen, I know we get caught up when we talk about white supremacy. Ain't no white man supreme over me. That's cool. The white man is supreme over this system though. Like how this system function, it like they literally get to dictate who fits into what, because there's no world where a black man has multiple felonies and is considered viable for president. There's no way that no black man get caught up trying to pay off his mistress so he could run for president and still be considered viable for president.
And here's the thing. Let me go ahead and put a little bit of extra on what we're talking about. Even if you, for whatever reason, don't believe that white supremacy has existed past tense, right? You're just like, no, black people got to figure they shit out just like everybody else, just like every other immigrant group. No, Latinos got to go about it the right way, or it's not, you know what I'm saying? Even if you don't believe that in the past there has been white supremacy, you have to, and you cannot ignore the undeniable way that white supremacy is a projection for the future. It's a desire, it's a goal, something to be worked towards. So
Right.
even if you believe that white people haven't actualized it yet, like it's not a theory that explains the past or history, there are other explanations for that shit, it very muchly is an agenda item. It is an aspirational goal that white people have. How do we know that? Shit like the Great Replacement Theory. Right, this idea, this concept that more people of color, more black people, more Latin people, more immigrants coming is a bad thing, because it will then supplant the ability for white people to be the dominant race and then to dictate and determine the direction and the orientation of this nation. Right, the past election that we've had, the talking point in conservatives and Republicans specifically about immigration, right, for history, right, for generations. Right, the ways that we kind of think about and perceive settler moves to innocence, right? Or settler futurity, right? How a lot of decisions that are made, a lot of privatization, a lot of neoliberalism, a lot of capitalism, a lot of the political decisions that are intertwined and all of that shit are made to ensure white people have or can protect the futures that they wanted to create. Everything from wealth and how it's distributed or how it's taxed. We are very concerned. We don't want to do too much because it'll affect your white future. We have to protect your potential to be supreme or to obtain or maintain supremacy. Right. So like there's shit in play that even if you again don't believe that it has influenced the past, is absolutely trying to dictate the future. Like white supremacy is just a real, it's an actuality.
And I think what we've gotten to a place is that I don't know how this has happened, but like I think black people have become numb to the racism conversation, even though racism has not subsided. And that's what fucked me up the most. You feel me? Because I feel like during the election, one of my biggest questions was, why isn't Donald Trump's relationship with white supremacists and white nationalists and like every anti-black group, because every anti-black group, the one thing that they had in common, they was Trump supporters. If they was anti-black, they had a relationship with Trump. Like, and the fact that we've now reached a point where it's just like people are just like, yeah, racism just really don't matter no more. Like niggas really be on the whole like, y'all niggas worried about racism, y'all niggas worried about white people, y'all need to be out here getting money. Y'all need to be out here getting to the bag. Y'all need to be, while we can go over the statistic after statistic after statistic that shows that like literally white supremacist institutions that dictate our financial institutions make it more difficult for black people to accumulate wealth. You feel me?
That's the rules. Like, go keep on.
No, I mean, last thing I was gonna say, and you got it, is like I just recently went over a study that explained that even black people that come from wealthy families fail to a large degree to reproduce the same benefits to their parents compared to white kids who overwhelmingly, when they come from rich backgrounds, they overwhelmingly reproduce produce financial backgrounds higher than their parents. So even when we get an opportunity with a head start, like I got more money than niggas in the hood, it's still more difficult for me to still achieve the same level of financial success as my parents simply because I'm a nigga. So niggas is just like ignore white supremacy and get the bag, but what's uniquely in the way of getting the bag is white supremacy if you pay attention to it. Whether it's starting a black business, you know what I'm saying, whether it's getting an education, whether it's doing, most people don't even know 90 niggas be like, shout out to the Wall Street Trapper and everybody else that's like, getting that financial game. Guess what? 93% of the stocks are owned by the top 10%.
Yeah.
The rest of us, the rest of that 90%, we fucking around with 7% of stocks. What was you about to say?
Well, no, just that this seems very representative of kind of what I sent you in that video, because this video of this young man on TikTok was explaining how he turned into a black conservative, right? How he got there and what his whole path and journey to that was. And it wasn't that he grew up in a conservative household. It wasn't that he was around even a whole bunch of rich white people or white people to even influence him and change his mind. He didn't grow up in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Like, he grew up with a household and a family of Democrats, traditional black family, church going, whatever. And so when he said the thing that really, as a black man, that turned him on to black conservatism and allow for him to look past some of the racism and shit, and this is very specific to him being male, was, the fact that his inroads to it was a lot of, again, podcasters and bloggers, a lot of very benign, like MMA conversations with Joe Rogan, of course. And then what's the other black man name? I forgot his name. A couple different fighters and boxers and different people who would come on those platforms because it was a breadcrumb. Right, those platforms mix in conversations about mixed martial arts. They mix in conversations about the culture and about sports and the body and health and this, that, and the other, with other people that then come in and trickle in little perceptions of the idea that, true masculinity and manhood is about providing for yourself. It's about figuring out a path to provide for your family. It's about working and not being reliant or dependent on systems to get you out of your position. And as a man, like, he was like, I was attuned to that. So all of a sudden I'm mystified by this shit. And I'm hearing like some of the, backdrop of the racist shit, the bullshit, you know what I'm saying, is being said, but at the same time it's nurturing something in me that's just like I shouldn't be dependent on other people. I do have power in my hands. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps, essentially. There is the work that I can do. I don't have to blame me being black. I don't have to blame a system. I don't have to blame white supremacy on my issues. I could just lock in more. I could just grind. I could just wake up and get it in. And then all of a sudden, the same voices saying that is the same voices that are taking the segment to do their manosphere shit in their show. And then all of a sudden, the same voices that's doing that is the same ones that are pointing to, it's like he was like, it was just like links in a chain that got me deeper and closer and more ingrained in like this shit where it's like, I'm willing to buy some of it. Liberals ain't got no messages for young men. Liberals don't have no messages,
especially young black men. Like liberals don't have shit for niggas.
I'm supposed to do. And so he's like, that spoke to me, and it allowed for me to be dismissive and turn on blinders to other shit, like how I was being racialized, or how niggas like Herschel Walker and X, Y, and Z was being tokenized and showboated, even though I knew them was silly niggas doing silly shit. You know what I'm saying? I was able to look past that. And then being tokenized because I resonated and found messages. And so I think all of that just to say that it's so insidious, it's so sneaky, and it ends up captivating, or at least having, if not captivating, having niggas look the other way because it's just other shit that has tentacles that pull them in and suck them in to begin with.
And this is why I say anti-blackness and racism is the default for everybody in this fuck. Even we go as far as to say like all white people are racist. All niggas have anti. We can't call it racism, but all niggas have anti-blackness in them inherently. Yeah. Like you can't be socialized in a country that tells you that niggas ain't shit, that treat niggas like shit. You know what I'm saying? And then put that on display and then think that you haven't internalized some form of anti-blackness within yourself. Because a part of what he probably would admit to, that he probably didn't make a big deal about it in the video, is that it were certain racist perspectives of black people that he was kind of like, well, that is kind of true. That's what makes it easier for niggas to align like themselves with mentalities about. Man, it's just one guy that I talked to on YouTube. It's this nigga named Madan Komet, and he a Hebrew Israelite nigga, but he loved Trump. He like one of Trump's biggest fans. And when we would call Trump racist, or I would call Trump racist specifically, this nigga's response would be like, name one thing Trump did that was racist. And I bring up something, you know what I'm saying, like off the top of head, boom, calling African countries shithole countries. This nigga would be quicker to be like, well, them countries are shithole countries, than to call what he said racist. And it's like, my nigga, that perception coming from an individual like that stems from anti-black racism. That's the only, and then on top of the fact that when we look at how colonization and neoliberalism has been destroying these countries in terms of stealing their resources and putting their people in poverty and everything else. And so when he call them shithole countries, he's talking about the impact that colonization and capitalism has had on these countries, that he's at fault and people like him are at fault for it. But it's easier for us to look at the circumstances that African countries are in and call them shithole countries than to be like this person that I admire because of whether it's power or his whiteness or whatever else. Because you know how some niggas just love white men for like whatever reason. You feel me?
Yeah.
But that's the type of attitude that they have. And so even the people that's even not that extreme still develop certain anti-black attitudes that makes it easier. And even if it ain't anti-black, like for example, the more xenophobic, anti-migrant, that's still racism. You feel me? The way that niggas have responded and adopted and took on like the right-wing immigration talking points and bullshit. Now I know niggas say that they had their reasons because of what was happening in New York and Chicago, but in those isolated incidents, to then develop a whole understanding about like the migrants are taking over the hood, they taking all of our black quote unquote jobs. You feel me? Like that is still because when you're socialized in this country, you have a sensitivity to racism that it's easier at this point in 2024 to going into 2025 to align yourself with racism for whatever reason than it is to be repulsed by it. Like we should be.
So yeah, And I want to shout out Devastating and Marcel because they in the chat talking to us, and we just kind of moving through the conversation. But definitely tapping in with
Shout
us.
out to Dev. Shout out to Marcel. Yeah.
All day long. One of the things though that you kind of pointing out is cognitive, I've used this term before, but I really want us to understand what cognitive dissonance is, because we all have to have a level of cognitive dissonance in order to live in this country, right? Like, but it's the heightened level of cognitive dissonance that you got to be very reluctant and suspect about. Cognitive dissonance are moments where you have beliefs and values, but you behave and act in the way they're inconsistent with those beliefs and values. And the reason why you do it is that you are able to rationalize. You find a way to explain and justify the reasons why you act outside of the trajectory of your beliefs, right? So in the same ways that you like, man, I know I don't need to drink. I know I don't need to turn up. I made these goals. I have these aspirations. Cognitive dissonance says, but it's a birthday. You know what I'm saying? But it's a holiday, right? You find a way around what you said you wanted to do and justify it in order to behave outside of your ethics and morals and values. And that's the same thing you're describing with the way that these same motherfuckers is just like, I don't believe in X, Y, and Z, right? Especially when it comes to immigration, right? I don't believe in white supremacists. I don't believe in, being racist. I don't believe in those prejudices, but you find a way to rationalize it. It's this other shit that I deal with, though. I rock with the rest of this, so I'll go ahead and find a way to stomach this other shit, or I'll participate in it because, let's be for real. Niggas already don't get nothing, so we don't need more people to come over here if you're trying to get the shit. We don't even get the shit. Like, it is that mindset that then allows you to peddle the same bullshit that you said you wouldn't tolerate it, that you don't believe.
Man, listen. Toya, using immigration as Miss Ma'am in the building. It's crazy. Like, the example that you use with immigration, it goes as far as to you have a problem with immigrants taking low wage, low skill jobs. But you don't have a problem with corporations giving away low skill, low wage jobs. The greatest incentive there are two. The greatest incentive for immigration is, first, U.S. companies looking for cheap labor. Period. They wouldn't be here. We wouldn't complain about them taking our jobs if they weren't paying people below a minimum wage and not tripping off of it. Not giving them benefits and not tripping off of it. They wouldn't be here for that. And then second, we're destroying their countries. We're undermining their countries.
Their countries, right. This goes back to shithole countries that don't exist because they have been pillaged and stolen from and manipulated and fucked over. Right. And you just get they get to be a scapegoat.
They get to be. So if you got a problem with them coming over here, anybody, and I know most people don't pay attention to migration patterns, but you see increase in migration to the United States whenever there's civil unrest in the countries where these people come from. If they're being ran over by cartels, if there's a coup, if a government is being overthrown, all of those type of things taking place on a regular in those types of areas, because the United States historically have deposed of leaders in those areas that campaigned on building those places up, that campaigned on protecting their economy, that campaigned on protecting their resources, right? All of those types of leaders, the United States made it possible for them to be gone. So in a large part, these people are escaping circumstances that was created by the United States government, CIA, FBI, and the military.
Come on.
So cognitive dissonance tells us that, let's not be angry at the people that's responsible for creating these circumstances, but let's blame the people that's trying to escape those circumstances. Because the United States teaches us that the oppressed or the oppressors are the good guys. They're the ones that did it right. Manifest destiny. American exceptionalism, all of these concepts that we've come up with in the United States to justify the pillaging, the destruction, the killing of brown people, of indigenous people, and of other white people. Because as much as we talk, when we complaining about corporations, the number one thing that I tell folks is that poor white man that voted for Trump, that voted for that billionaire that said because he was a business owner. He's also supporting the same person that's getting rid of his pension. He's supporting the same people that's lowering his insurance. He's supporting the same people that's taking more taxes out of his paycheck. And we can go down the line. And then he gonna turn around and say that what's wrong with this country is the gays, the Muslims, the immigrants, and the blacks. Even though it's the white man that look just like you that got his hands in your pocket. Man, listen. Listen. Okay, because there's more to the conversation. And it's actually what we about to get into is more of is really kind of why I feel like this matters even more. You feel me? Like why this conversation matters even more. So the last thing I'm gonna say on this is I told y'all. Donald Trump is going to put a battery in the back of the people that hate you. Regardless of whether or not you believe in his tax plan, regardless of whether or not you think he's racist, racists think he's racist and they like him for it. So we're going to see an increase in these types of incidents, and we're going to see niggas ignoring it, acting like racism ain't a thing until something else gets shot up. And we all are sitting on the internet in tears because we thinking like, damn, it happened to us again.
Yeah.
But with that, we're going to transition to the next part of the conversation. Toya, you take it over.
So the next part of the conversation is inspired by this post that the plug is about to pull up that I came across on Twitter. And it is a post that if you like, go ahead and pull it up real quick because I want to make sure I got it word for word. But it's a post that really kind of critiques the actions and behaviors of some of our ancestors, some of our OGs, hell, some of our grandparents, depending on how old you are and where you fit on the timeline. Now, the original post, and I'm gonna go to it because I can't really see it on here. It says it's all good. The original post says, because I want to be able to describe it for the people listening. It's a picture of black people at a counter. It's a black and white photo of black people sitting at a counter. That clearly is for whites only. It's white people all around them, and their drinks being poured on their head. And the original poster says, "You grow up and realize how much of a waste of time this was." Right? And then the repost or the retweet of it says, "I will never disrespect them. I just hate that we spend so much time fighting to be in spaces where we weren't wanted." And so it got me thinking. Right, because I feel like this is along the lines of some of those posts that was like, "We're not our ancestors." You know, that was a quick, cute little one-liner that I really feel like got popular when we was like in our 20s or whatever. When people kind of critiquing the systems, critiquing the police, we're seeing Black Lives Matter. We're seeing more protests. We're seeing people kind of pop out a little bit more, and they like, "We're not our ancestors. We ready to get down." And then you also, you know, I think see reassertions of that every now and again, just like ignorance. And most people beat it down, but you have posts like this that I think in the same way kind of take swipes at the intentional work and effort that the OGs kind of put in to create a pathway for us to survive, to be for better. I won't say for better, for worse, but comparatively, we live in an America that is still harsh, still bad, still terrible, but there's some more wiggle room to breathe. For niggas, if we just being honest about the situation. I can go into any establishment and request a beverage. I can have a soda wherever I like it. And you can turn your face up at me while I'm in there. You gotta give it to me.
But you gotta serve me. Oh yeah, or I'm shutting this business down. Yeah, I'm
you know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean quickly, because either I'll do it, TikTok will do it, Yelp reviews will do it. Like, there's just so many ways that you get the blowback from that. You a little bit more reluctant. And so I guess my question to you, plug into the chat, is like, what do you think? And this is a broad question, but like, what do you think gets people to a place where they look at moments like this, where they think about, you know, our ancestors being hoes, being attacked by dogs, sit-ins, bus boycotts, this, that, and the other, and be like, that couldn't have been me? Like, what do you think stimulates that thought process?
It's modernity. It's the distance from the threat of them type of crackers. And that's really what it is. It's like that's why today these people, come on, you got to think about it, Toya. We just came out of this election, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about the election because I don't want to make this about election. But there were many attitudes that came out that, like, during this past election that points to where our priorities are fucked. You feel me? And I think it is because we don't have to deal with these type of white people. We think that, oh, I am my grand or whatever. That's why they so willing to say, I like my racist up front. You think our ancestors that sat on these counters like they racist up front? Do you think that they were okay with having to experience these types of white people? The type of white people we don't gotta deal with. Like that, and that's it's a privilege. Niggas is spoiled. Niggas will sit there and look you in the face and say, I want my white supremacist to tell me he don't like me. And that's because they, no, seriously, that's because they dumbasses think that he's just going to say it. That it's only going, that they're just going to look at you.
Yeah.
That's why you laugh because what?
Because I don't think I was built for that shit. Like, I'm looking at myself now and I'm being very honest with you about how I don't know that I was built for motherfuckers to just be in my face, on my body, in my bubble, spit on me, throw. Like, I don't know that I was made like that. So the nerve and the audacity for motherfuckers to walk around in a world that they have never existed in and be like, I woulda, you couldn't, you woulda had me. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know.
So here's the thing. It's a couple things, a couple realities we got to deal with that when niggas be making these statements, they not really dealing with. For example, the first reality is, what the fuck was you gonna do when that many it's 5 of y'all and about 20 white people, and they already pouring bullshit on your head because they wanting you to do something. You lash out, you get your ass beat by them, then you get your ass beat by the police, then you get thrown in jail and get your ass beat again. Yeah. But they don't have to. We live in a world where there's discrimination laws, right? There's police brutality laws. There are lawsuits where people sue and get paid off of these, and literally get paid off of these types of incidents. You feel me? So yeah, we sitting around talking about what we would do in a world where we could get a lawyer and say somebody was racist to us and get $1 million. What would you do? So it's like the only reason that you're okay with these types of white people because you believe that the type of racism that Donald Trump represents is just one that's just going to tell you that they don't like you. No, dummy. Yeah. They're not just going to tell you that they don't like you. They're going to create policies that harm you. They're going to get police to do things bad to you. They're going to do things bad to you. Niggas still get lynched in 2024. Yeah.
In niggas' minds, they just like, you know, one police officer, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna let them knock me. You know, if they don't give me this job, I'll just apply for another job. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they literally took away affirmative action. Oh, you got a black ass name. Like, I could not hide behind LaToya on a job application if I tried. Right? Some of y'all got race neutral names. You able to kind of stick your neck out there and okay, maybe I didn't get this job, I get the next one. But if they decide that as a black woman, that it is not necessary for them to create space and place for me in an opportunity to earn a livable wage, to make some money, to use this education, they could just be like, nah. And they've done that essentially by eliminating affirmative action, right? All the little Toyas that want to go to colleges and universities can't get no scholarship check. I got scholarships. I got fellowships. None of that shit is available to them. And it's not just one no. If this university say no, this university will say yes. It's not, you got to think bigger than that. Systems and structures are being created before our very eyes. You like, it could be me. I ain't worried about it. As long as I keep grinding and doing what I got to do, it's going to be all good. And here's the thing that really blows my mind about this shit, and this is the connection to the first part of our conversation, is you have the nerve to turn your nose up at organizing when at least they have the nerve, the audacity, the backbone, the common sense to organize. They got organized and did something. They got a whole bunch of somebodies to get together and do the same thing at one time and not stop doing it until they got results. They got a whole bunch of individuals in a whole bunch of diverse ways to think critically about what would allow for a system to grind to a halt, to have to hear them and acknowledge their needs, to damn near to do it non-violently. Yeah. Right. And this is not an argument to say we can copy and paste all the tactics and techniques and strategies.
We cannot.
But at least they had the nerve to organize. We can't stay off of Amazon, Shein, TikTok Shop. We can't stay off of these social media platforms. We're not galvanized together to use and spend our money the same way. We look at niggas all upside down inside.
All upside down, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even feel connected to other Black people because, you know, we don't need all of that and this, that, and the other, and all skin folk ain't kin folk. And we don't lean so deep into that logic and mentality that we haven't really developed the fundamental basis of what we do together as a people and on what level are we locked in. And so it is wild because, I mean, and again, connecting to the first part, they're extremists. They grouping up, they clicking up. They doing like the Bible say, when 2 or 3 are gathered. You know what I'm saying? And they literally, it's like it's not shit. And that's the thing. Huh?
No, again, finish it up.
Well, no, like one of the things about the article that it was a quote in there that I really found fascinating was, they was like, we're the ones holding the doors open for you. We're the ones in your communities telling you to have a good day at the gas station. We out here. You know what I'm saying? It was a very clear, like, scare tactic to let you know that they are organized in ways that we cannot just detect. It ain't gonna be all white hoods and, you know what I'm saying, leather jackets and shit like that and bald heads. They are connected in the network, and they waiting for you to do some wild shit so they can and get their people circled up on your ass. And instead, we sit up here criticizing niggas who OGs who showed us the playbook, who showed us what it looked like and what can happen, the potential and possibility of lining up. And we like, it couldn't have been me. What a waste of time this was. Like, you sound ridiculous.
And I think this is just like a great example of just where niggas' priorities are just fucked up in general. Like, we could just start with criticizing like shit like, you know, sit-ins, criticizing shit like the civil rights movement, criticizing shit like integration, right? Are there criticisms to integration? Yes. But when niggas is like, integration was the worst thing to happen to the Black community, no.
Yeah. No.
Chattel slavery was the worst thing to happen to the Black community. Jim Crow was the worst thing to happen to the Black community. Those lynchings that took place that left us no recourse in terms of protection or justice was the worst thing to happen to the Black communities. The fact that we now had the capacity to actually even like have legal protections to engage in public goods and things that we should have been able to do in general. Like, one criticism of the Civil Rights Act that I agree with, the Civil Rights Act, not civil rights activists, but one criticism of the Civil Rights Act that I agree with was the one that was held by Kwame Ture, where he said that the Civil Rights Act was for white people. And it was to tell them that, hey, these public places that the Constitution says everybody has the right to, Black people have the right to it too. They have all of these things that are considered public goods. So when people just be like, well, separate but equal wasn't that bad. Yes, the fuck it was. A part of what was a major argument in the Board of Education case is the psychological impact that segregation had and the lack of resources had on Black students and their ability to succeed. Yes, I get it that we're not, like, when people say shit like, we not, you know, like when they say, for example, like, fighting to be in spaces we weren't wanted. There's nowhere in America where they want niggas. Period. Like, so this whole, it ain't about just the grocery stores. It's not about the diners. It's not about the restaurants. It's about being here. What did Jared Sexton? He said anti-Blackness come down to a question of presence.
Yeah.
The violence that we see, the disdain that we see for Black bodies comes down to the presence, not the actions, not the culture, not the lives, not the language. The fact that we're here is enough to develop the type of hatred that they have.
Here's the other kind of really wild thing that I think people forget. Is that historically, and I'm coming in fuzzy a little bit, so we'll re-register and get ourselves together. But people are forgetting that Black people, the spaces, the institutions that they tried to build, the Tulsas, the Black Wall Streets, whether the bunch of other affluent communities and neighborhoods around the country, right? The neighborhood where the African family lived, where the move bombing happened, right? Like in Philadelphia, all of these places got bombed, got eliminated, got taken out. So the places Black people did try to create to be separatists, to create their own shit, white people didn't want them to have that satisfaction. They came and got that shit too.
Why we act like it's passive?
Then like you could have went to Uncle Lewis's diner. No, they burned that shit down. Oh well, you could have went to the juke joint down. No, they burned that shit down. Well, you could have went to the penny show. No, that shit it wasn't there. It was gone. So especially when we think about not only major institutions like schools, you talked about Brown versus Board, like the law and being able to participate in legal recourse and institutions to learn it, to practice it, whatever. When we talk about shit like buying houses and having access to property, all of that shit.
Yeah.
Right. Every single one of those contours, levels, and layers were key. But even the little social lightweight shit that you think is just kind of whatever, we could have hung out with each other in public places. Which part? Which community center?
Yeah.
Which one? Where was we linking up? They didn't. Yeah. They took our shit. Didn't want us to have it to begin with.
Destroyed it. Destroyed it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where we get this idea that like whiteness is passive. Like it's just that it ain't that like it's just your actions. You just gotta no. Yeah. Anti-blackness is a active fucking process. Oh, blackness is building itself up somewhere? Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that. Like that's how that shit think. You know what I'm saying? They were actively invited. It wasn't like the Black Panthers was opening up to everybody and motherfuckers was like, well, the FBI might as well stroll right in. No. They found niggas that they wanted to use to infiltrate. These are active processes. The devaluing of black homes. This is an active process. The underpaying of black people, of black labor, of black workers is an active process. Like I literally
you got to see it because whenever something has been rolled back, when a law has been enforced, whatever, they just find another way. We can't do it that way. Okay, it's never been a world where things like housing justice has come and they've been like, well, I guess we'll leave them alone now.
We'll leave it alone. No, they just find another way. And Toya, here it is: the audacity of Mama T. Yeah. Like it is 2024. We just elected the poster boy for white privilege and white supremacy, and niggas is talking about what our ancestors was doing.
Yeah.
You niggas during the 2024 election, when it was like this ambiguous black woman with a history as a district attorney versus a known racist who racists love, y'all biggest concern was whether or not she was black. That conversation had more, and y'all talking about what y'all would do against back then? Or y'all mad that y'all was arguing about her blackness while the poster boy for white privilege was winning an election? What are you talking about? The audacity. Again, the article says white supremacist incidents are rising in the U.S. What are you niggas doing?
Yeah.
We got the nerve to criticize vaccines. We criticizing abortions. We criticizing immigration. We criticizing the Civil Rights Act, the Civil Rights Movement. We criticize Black Power. We criticize Black Lives Matter. We criticize everything they got to do with niggas. But then when the spotlight is on the greatest example of white privilege that we've had for generations, niggas is like, but she ain't black though. But her mama Indian. Her daddy not really Jamaican.
I mean, but these conversations convict me because the other side of it is black people who do a lot of hard work, who work painstakingly, who are organized and and we look at it and we turn our nose up to them and think they corny, or we don't got time to do what they trying to do, or we think they played out and shit like that. Or we, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to get with that. I ain't throwing on no that. She keep doing this, that. You know what I'm saying? Just really, in its own right, corny thoughts and perspectives about how it is that we need to be connected with our people. But somewhere along the line, that shit stop being cool. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I hate. Like, take me back to 2014. Take me back to 2011 and 2014 when everybody was looking for a dashiki. You know what I'm saying? So much so.
I'll take
back the days. I'll take back the days when we start seeing non-black people in them. Because at least, you know what I'm saying? It was a moment of pride and of connection and relationship. And I think that's the last time I can really think of, you know what I'm saying, when niggas was all on like we some outwardly proud black people shit. And that was just performative. It wasn't no material organizing around that shit, but at least had black people it had them feeling good about being connected. You know what I'm saying? Like, in 2025, I really do want to find, and I want to challenge you to, in whatever ways we can do it together, just because you my nigga and we don't spend enough time together anyway. But like, finding some black folk out here and just being part of something bigger. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Something
nah, I
meaningful,
feel
like
you.
some type of organization that even on a
Yeah,
local level feeds and nourishes black people or meets the needs
something.
of them or lets us mentor
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah,
Something tangible that I can say I do at the behest and for the sake of black people. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, because I don't have enough of that direct action, and I have enough of a desire to want to kind of act on that. So that'll be something that we both do is keep our ear a little closer to the ground. And I mean, it's hard to do. We transplants who live in the same very general area, but not at all. You know,
Not
in the heart.
really, not really.
Neither one are in the heart of where the black people are and what the black
We
people
don't
live.
even live in the same county in Southern
You know what I
California,
mean? Like, but
nigga.
between these platforms and
We can
enough
meet
stuff
somewhere in
that
the middle.
we can
Yeah.
find something.
We
You know
just
what
got,
I'm
I
saying?
guess
That's
we
all
just got to take our
I
ass to Lamert Park. Just, you know what I'm
just camp
saying? Just
out.
walk
And I'm
around.
up there
Yeah.
enough. Like I got clients up there. I got work I be doing up there. And then also
Yeah.
I don't mind taking a drive. Like none of that shit turns me off. I'm not from out here. I'm not complaining about the traffic every 2 seconds. If I want to be involved in my community, I gotta drive for it. I
Yeah.
understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just all of that to say I'll never be the one to turn my nose up. Like that Mama T's tweet should have stopped it. I'll never disrespect them. You know what I'm
That's it.
saying? Like that
It
shit
should have just
just
been left at that.
should have stopped right there because it takes more. And the thing is, it's not just a feel good sentiment about me being in community with my people. These white people is organizing. They not pump faking. They not playing with us. You know what I'm saying? And my thing is like, even as a transplant, I don't got no other niggas to link up with and latch on to if the conservatives of Orange County or Southern California decide to get, froggy. I need to be able to run to some of black folk. Like, all of that starts with being in community and being in some type of organized fashion, working towards some type of goal, having some type of schedule, some type of
Yeah.
agenda, some type of intent, a vision, a mission, material kind of thing, like shit that comes along with the theories that you talk about and the perspectives and ideals that you hold, like action, work, whatever that need to look like. Like I hunger and thirst for that, especially in the face of walking around with people who think like these people on these tweets. So
But the
that's kind of why I wanted to even get into it, is just to make sure I wasn't tripping. Because like, why are we talking like this?
Nah, I mean, I think a bigger problem though is just that niggas didn't we've because what you said is like the attitude we need. Like, how can I get involved with something? The problem is that social media then kind of shifted our priorities to where it's like, what can I get on the internet and talk shit about? And
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, it's talking shit about like it's shit like this tweet, right? Like it's analyzing shit from the past and breaking down where they got it wrong or where this person got it wrong, where Dr. King was a sellout, where Malcolm X was a sellout, where you know what I'm saying, where all of these different individuals, it's always where they came up short. Even, we were talking recently about the conversation about black leaders being like ending up with white people. And it's like, y'all, like, how can you criticize Nikki Giovanni? How can you criticize Maya Angelou, regardless of who they ended up with, because of their cultural impact, because of the ways that they opened the eyes of black people and touched the hearts of black people? I mean, and in their cases, specifically black women, and what they mean for black women in this country. You know what I'm saying? Culturally,
Mm-hmm.
you feel me? Like the way that they was able to display what their blackness represented, regardless of who they ended up with. Like, how do you fix your lips to criticize when?
I mean, even Frank Wilderson, like the whole reason he's still alive, but the whole reason a lot of us have a vocabulary for what anti-blackness looks like in the contemporary is because of the language that he's the grammar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The identification that he's of course not the only one we've talked about. Jared Sexton, we haven't mentioned yet on this show, but Orlando Patterson, we haven't mentioned Sadia Hartman, we haven't mentioned the Joy Jane. Like, it's so many different people who are critical race theorists and scholars. But Frankie B, I didn't see him pop up on memes before. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see him. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of his wife, white as hell. You know what I mean? And so a conversation in depth that we've had before, and it's for a different day. But it's just like, you got a whole list of qualifications and hoops and hurdles motherfuckers got to jump through when they already doing the work, and that will always be wild to me.
But y'all want niggas to be mad about vaccines. Y'all want niggas to be mad about abortions. Y'all want niggas to be mad about immigrants. Y'all want niggas to be mad at Democrats. Y'all want niggas to be mad at Republicans. Y'all want niggas to be mad at all this other bullshit. But the institutions that make this bullshit possible, we give passes to. We rather spend our time name dropping pointing a finger at some celebrity, pointing a finger at some major name. All of this shit end up just being a distraction because the people that's making it, like if we really talking conspiracy, the people that make shit shake, you don't know their name. Like I think what was crazy, like I'm sorry to you, the election again though, Kamala Harris. It's niggas who knew Kamala Harris' history as a district attorney, nigga, like literally from her whole time in San Francisco, but can't even tell you the name of their own district attorney.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't tell you the name of the nigga. They can't give you his statistics. They can't tell you how many people he's been locked up or she done locked up. They can't tell you none of their numbers and none of their metrics, but they can tell you about Kamala Harris. Priorities are fucked up. We talking about chemtrails. Niggas be talking about 5G. Niggas be talking about the end of the world shit. Like all like niggas get caught up. I mean, now it's the aliens. And it's like, bro, yeah, niggas is like, even the government telling us now. When did we start trusting the government? When did we start being like, oh, the government telling us, then that must be on some up and up. No, matter of fact, if you were for real conspiracy motherfucker, if the government start talking about aliens, you supposed to start thinking like, yo, what the fuck is happening? Something else really going on. If y'all spilling the beans on this shit, it's the Kansas City Shuffle. I gotta look somewhere else. Cause it's a reason y'all want people looking at motherfucking aliens right now.
Yeah.
It's a reason. If you for real questionable about all of this shit that we living in, how the fuck do we get caught up in being like Kamala the problem and Donald Trump is in what world is that real skepticism? Like, Toya, do you know how difficult it is having to explain to motherfuckers that it's like, no, talking about how bad Donald Trump isn't an endorsement of Kamala Harris, nigga. It's literally talking about this thing, this thing that Donald Trump represents that is the greatest threat to us. Like, shit, give me the post racial Barack Obama America before you give me fucking Donald Trump. Give me that. Like, okay, cool, because I can beat up on these punk ass liberals. Let's beat up on these punk ass liberals. These motherfuckers, y'all trying to encourage the people that's willing to wage war against your ass. Mm-hmm. While you talking about Planned Parenthood. I'm just saying. I ain't really trying to, you know what I mean? Like, I ain't trying to, like, I really been holding back this rant. Because it's like, as actually, y'all haven't seen us in a while. And if I'm being candid, if I can be candid for a second to you.
Please, talk to the people. You can't.
That is really like I've really developed like a fucked up perception of people, and I already had a fucked up perception of people. But it's like as we just kind of do like this, like we transition into this new Trump era. Like, I'm thinking about all of the shit that we knew about this motherfucker and the people that he putting into power. So when we look at situations like Matt Gaetz, who they about to release his ethics investigation, Donald Trump put that nigga up for the attorney general, the highest law enforcement person in the land. But because of like where we at, people don't give a fuck about that.
You know,
niggas don't care that Donald Trump nominated a person who quit government because they was about to expose his ass for being a young teen chaser. Yeah. It's like, why even talk about that? Why how does that matter post 2024? Given the shit that y'all showed that y'all cared about in the 2024 election, what mattered? Kamala Harris ain't black. Now she gone. Now what matters? What matters?
Yeah.
You feel me? I didn't even have to ask niggas like straight up, like, yo, what are the demands that niggas is making on Donald Trump now? We ain't making no demands.
Yeah, it was to lower them groceries and make things cheaper, and now they finding out that he don't plan on doing that shit neither. So then, really, what's left?
What the
For
fuck?
everybody who's voting about their pockets and about the bag, he done already said it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be hard to do to bring grocery prices down, and tariffs don't work the way that you thought they did.
Oh, not only that, Toya, unless Donald Trump extends the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, poor people about to see one of the highest increases in their taxes in history. While the rich people, all their benefits were permanent. All the tax cuts for people that make less than $300,000, that shit expires next year. Niggas' taxes is about to skyrocket.
No, these people complaining about their taxes being high now, and a lot of people want to blame it on Joe Biden without recognizing that we're a lot of us at a certain who make a certain amount of money or below a certain amount of money, baby, you are dealing with Trump era tax policies that started in 2018 and don't, I think the same ones you're talking about don't
Yeah,
expire
they
until
end in next year.
and then even after that, he got more for your ass. So sure,
Like
whatever you thought, let's go with that.
So that's and I'm saying, so like what? So what? Niggas don't care about the important shit no more, Toya. Niggas want to hear about what's going on. We not talking to y'all about Diddy. We not talking to y'all about Jay-Z. I'm keeping it a stack. It is what it is. Like these niggas is, we get so caught up. It's so many bigger predators. There's so many bigger issues. There's so many bigger, like greater problems out here. The nigga that, like, look up the people that Donald Trump is about to put in charge of national security. Look up the people that Donald Trump is about to put in charge of the Pentagon. Drunks.
He made Herschel Walker the ambassador to the Bahamas.
The ambassador to Herschel Walker, the ambassador to the Bahamas. Like, look up the people that, like, I mean, even this conversation about getting rid of the this Doge Department of Government Efficiency, is being held by civilians. People that have not been selected or not been elected or even confirmed by Congress are going to be trying to tell the government what departments, like the Department of Education. The biggest resource to impoverished students is the Department of Education. And you got two billionaires, Vivek Ramaswamy and motherfucking Elon Musk, telling us that we don't need it.
Crazy.
So what the fuck? Like, what do y'all, like, it ain't no point in talking about this shit to niggas because this is what they wanted. Niggas said she not black. So she not black. Okay, cool. So ain't no point in talking about Vivek getting rid of the Department of Education, even though underfunded inner city and rural schools heavily rely on Department of Education for resources.
Meanwhile, they want to send Linda McMahon into an office by herself and have her answering the phone on behalf of the Department of Education. Like, that's what they really want it to look like. Strip it down, make it to where it don't barely exist, and they're going to put her in the office and have her answering. I don't know what I don't get it. Like, all of these federal jobs that they want to eliminate, all these people they trying to fire, are like the very stabilization, the very qualification. You got career individuals who have been keeping this nation steady forever, bipartisanly. Right, or objectively, right? Simply not with no affiliation to any particular party. They didn't see presidents come and go, and all they do is show up and do their damn job, and they finna be on the curve.
And they just trying to fire them for the government is one of the like largest employers in the country.
Actual.
Like what the fuck?
But the economy though, But the economy, it's good for the economy.
Yeah, I tell you. We didn't hit the hour. Yeah, I was about to say we didn't hit the hour mark. I was like, I could probably go off for another 15 minutes, but niggas didn't heard it before.
I'm just right and done. We'll just end up repeating ourselves and being more frustrated about the election, which is where I didn't completely want to devolve to. Instead, I wanted us to be mindful and heads on swivel about the things that are actively happening around us, right? Because as much as we want to attribute this nationalism to Donald Trump, and he's really kind of been the mouthpiece for the extremism we talked about at the top of the show. It's always been here. It's always been around. And the radicalization of it, is in the emboldening of it is not just him, right? It's a shared synergy. It's a shared ideology. It's a shared understanding. He's just making people more comfortable with coming out the shadows about the shit. And then in terms of the latter half of the show and the conversation and how Black people organize and where we put our priorities, that'll always be an enigma to me. It'll always kind of be a question that is difficult or hard to answer if there's any answer at all. But something's better than nothing, and something is always going to be better than criticizing our, ancestors, our leaders, our griots, you know what I'm saying, our historians, the people who have captured these moments and told us these stories so that we can be empowered. It's always gonna be better than shitting on them. So we good. I love everybody. I hope that y'all are able to drop a thumb in appreciation for the conversation and also an investment in your plans to come back and join us. Of course, make sure you following us on IG. That's the second most active place that we are at the Chapo Show. So that you can stay tapped into what we're talking about. 2025 is coming and we need y'all with us. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing gonna change. If anything, it's just gonna get better. So make sure you stand locked in. And we appreciate everybody who, dropped a comment. Andrea, I feel like you jumped in at the end of the discussion, but it's always great to have you around. Tyler said Don painted his beard on for this rant, so Tyler was taking jabs. I think that's your dog.
Shit, I take that as a compliment. Shit, that made my shit looking crisp.
And I have no comment on that, but what I will say is that J Universe, Miss Ma'am, Moo Moo, Pure, Dev, J Universe, Vyasa, all of y'all are amazing. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. If you listening after the fact, it's big love to you. Hopefully your December is going well. Make sure you make your presence known in the comments. Let us know how you feel about some of the stuff we talked about on the show. And we'll be back hollering at y'all pretty soon.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all time, effort, and energy. We'll see y'all next time. This is the Chop Up. Happy holidays.
Happy Kwanzaa. All of those.
Happy Kwanzaa.
You know, we're Black Jews, so shout out to you if you celebrate the Hanukkah. We love all beautiful people.
All our beautiful black people.
Yeah. Celebrate your business. Be with your family. If you don't celebrate nothing, just celebrate not having to go to the job for a little bit. We appreciate y'all.
That's a fact. We out. Yes, sir.
You just in time.
Yes, sir. Daddy? Yes, you. Did my phone die?